Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Osmo Vänskä's Minnesota Mahler 8th, and it's great. It's absolutely great. And I was shocked, I have to say, because someone, I think it was here, one of you wrote, or someone emailed me, or somebody told me that the live performances were disasters, that everything went wrong, that everybody sucked, that it was just horrible. Well, who cares? It makes no difference how the live performances were. What matters is how the recording sounds and how they did it or how they patched it together or what they had to do. I have no idea, but it worked fabulously. Absolutely fabulously well. This is one of the best conducted, best recorded Mahler 8ths ever. It's probably the best recorded Mahler 8th ever. Certainly sonically, it's absolutely magnificent. It has unbelievably good balances between chorus and orchestra with the organ blended in. You can actually hear the polyphony in the vocal parts. You can understand a lot of the text, not that you'd want to, but you can. And it's kind of amazing. The soloists are all strong. The one possible exception, and that's a question of taste, is the tenor, who is this Barry Banks, who's more of a Rossini tenor than a Helden tenor, than a Wagner tenor. He doesn't have a heroic tone. He has a high, sort of nasally voice. He's kind of like Robert Tier or Peter Pears, one of those guys. So either you like the timbre or you don't like the timbre. But he sings well. He's totally committed, and he's got the notes, and he's okay. It's not a deal breaker by any stretch of the imagination. But as for the rest of it, I have nothing but good things to say, and I'm so happy because this was such a disappointing Mahler cycle by and large. It was characterized, for the most part, by Vänskä's desire to draw attention to how pretty the orchestra can be at the expense of whatever Mahler wanted them to be doing. And that was really, really annoying and upsetting, and I just don't get it. I really don't, because they could have done fabulously in this music, I'm sure. Now, there were better parts and less better parts, obviously, but the 8th is usually a disaster, and this really is the high point of the Mahler cycle, I think. I really do. I'm thrilled. I'm so happy. The whole performance takes, 83 minutes and 13 seconds, but there's probably a lot of time out. This always has a lot of, exit time when the thing ends, but it's very, very exciting, surprisingly exciting. The first part is really thrilling. I mean, it's a scream fest, right? And it's marked allegro impetuoso, and they just launch into it and take no prisoners. And the best thing about it is that Vänskä does not dawdle over those endless passages of writing for these 7 vocal soloists, which are the soloists in the Missa Solemnis and elsewhere. You just have to just ugly solo writing. I mean, it's not ugly. You just want them to get through it. And they do. They do get through it. The choruses sound great. The children's choir is well integrated. That central fugue is exciting as hell. The coda is absolutely thrilling. The offstage brass come in where they're supposed to. I mean, the sopranos with their repeated high Cs are just shrieking their lungs out through the whole thing. It's a bit relentless. It's exhausting, as it should be. It should be. It's supposed to come to an end, and you're supposed to just go whew, because the second part is, for the most part, contemplative. It's a series of solo arias with some chorus stuff mixed in. So by the time the adagio prelude to the second part starts, you really need the break. And I like that. I like the fact that he takes no prisoners at all in the first part, and then the second part begins, and it's with all of these wonderfully, desolate, isolated sounds and textures. It's all thinned out. And Vänskä doesn't have to blow his way through it very quickly, because we've stored up, enough energy that we can sit through a long, slow passage without it being in any way dull. And it isn't. It's beautifully well played. And he doesn't really pick up the pace. Usually, when the baritone comes in with Ewiger Wonnebrand, and they're doing all that stuff. And then you've got the Pater Profundus talking about rocks and cliffs and his bedürftig Herz and all that stuff. That starts to go much more quickly. But Vänskä takes his time, and he doesn't pick up the tempo until we get to the choir of young critters or whatever it is, whatever beings they are, doing Jene Rosen, Orlishausen, or however, I don't know what the words are, it doesn't matter. But there it starts to pick up very, very nicely. And so he spends 59 minutes over the second part, but it never sounds slow. It really doesn't, because he's so keenly aware of all of the orchestration, all the beautiful sounds and nuances. He brings them out, but accompanies the singers very sympathetically. They're lovely, absolutely lovely. I mean, the trio of the three enormously annoying women in the middle, I usually want them to just play that as fast as possible, because those women are irritating. Oh, my God. But no, he takes his time, and they sing marvelously, and you want to hear it. It makes you want to listen to it, because there's so much detail and sensitivity involved. It's really, really beautiful. I was thrilled. And who's what's her name? Gretchen here. There we are. Jacqueline Wagner. And Jacqueline Wagner sings really, really, really well as Gretchen. Carolyn Sampson is the Mater Gloriosa and the Magna Peccatrix in part 2. There's no reason to have a third singer for Mater Gloriosa. You just take Magna Peccatrix and stuff her in a balcony, and nobody hears the difference. So she's absolutely splendid. The rest of the singers, for the record, are Sasha Cooke, Jess Dandy, we talked about Barry Banks, Julian Orlishausen, and Christian Immler as bass. And they're all good. They're all very good. The choirs are the Minnesota Chorale, the National Lutheran Choir, the Minnesota Boy Choir, the Angelica Cantati Youth Choir with the Minnesota Orchestra, Osmo Vänskä on bass, and best of all, after Blick it auf, all that stuff. They're all doing their Blick it auf thing, and then you have that lovely interlude, and the final chorus comes in, and the closing pages are the best you'll ever hear, since Anthony Witt, who's also wonderful there too. But finally, you hear cymbals and tam-tam going da, 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 crash, and it's just glorious. Absolutely glorious. So get this Mahler 8th. You're going to love it. It's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. And I'm thrilled to say so. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.